what I am about to say, the national media, if it were truly focused on the national interest, would be debating every day, front and centre in the social consciousness of every citizen, rather than producing entertaining journalism designed to consistently increase corporate profits. Instead, we read stories about a proposal to teach journalists at a business school with a business model that preaches the concept of news being a commodity that will turn a profit. The entertainment agenda news. It brings in more dollars than factual news. The business model proclaims that the corporate media's editorial agenda chooses that which brings wealth, not factual honesty. A profit margin, driven by a tsunami of half-baked bullshit designed to entertain, where truth and facts outside of the mass cultural belief system are little more than roadkill. If you watch, read or listen to the entertainment news product, then intellectually this is what will happen to you. Historically, in the modern era, journalism has always been front and centre in acting as a megaphone for the ideas and beliefs of big business and its multiple business unions. And it defends and promulgates corporate ideology, which is little more than a faith-based religion. So we might as well call it corporate theology. The economists and hordes of business commentators being a latter-day priesthood, preaching that individuals should show service, faith, and obedience to the unchallengeable religion of the free market. Rome has the papacy, and we have a business council. Both demand unquestioning faith in delusionary, flawed belief systems. But what is the free market? It's that huge, unstable economic structure that overlays, manages and rules every single aspect of our existence. It creates an unfair, unjust and inequitable economic universe, or economic order, in which economic democracy can never exist. The economists define it as simply a system in which the prices for goods and services are self-regulated by buyers and sellers negotiating in an open market. That kind of leaves out going to work, paying off the mortgage, being in debt to banks, hating your job, being underpaid, bullied, ripped off, marginalised, and faced with that unfair, unjust and inequitable world where there is not a community-influenced economic democracy, but an economic autocracy where 20%, that is 1/5 of the Australian population, can own or control 70% of the wealth and thus own and control your very existence. And the business media with the megaphone of corporate journalism tells you that that is your perfect world and the only existence you'll ever experience. And what is the epistle of the business unions to accompany this pronouncement? Well, it's that the free market is constantly improving and making the world, including your world, better every day. Of course, there's a caveat in that you need to be able to afford to pay for that better. As an individual, if you can't afford the healthcare you need, then that's entirely your responsibility as a free market individual. It's basically your fault. The market may create healthcare inequity, but, it's up to you to fix that market problem, not some, God forbid, public taxpayer-funded institution. Because the claim that the free market gives you nothing but good is totally indisputable. So you need to strive to take advantage of that good which corporate ideology provides to the few and bugger the many. And surely, if the market only does good, it should fix some of our social problems. But does it actually fix any social problems? Can you name me a solitary, major social problem that the free market has solved? It doesn't solve social problems, it just creates them. For example, it will come up with competitive workplace, business-focused and modelled systems that encourage, create and manifest all manner of competitive bullying. But they are best business practice. So it will create profitable treatments to help the stressed and emotionally exhausted individual deal with the inherent flaws of that managerial system failure, rather than change the system to negate, remove or delete the source of the problem, which in the first instance is management best practice. Reality check. The market will not solve the problems it creates. It just creates profitable treatments to help deal with the problems it created in the first instance. Put very simply, the market generates wealth and profits out of endlessly creating a myriad of social problems. And then it's your responsibility as an individual with free choice and personal sovereignty to deal with those market-created problems. And if you can't, then that's your problem. You spend that much time and energy dealing with problems created by the free market, no wonder you're sad, demoralised or depressed. And in Western developed countries, who is free from capitalism and the market? Absolutely nobody. Talk of freedom is a nonsense if you are chained to the market system by the capitalist shackles of eternal debt, which can be obvious or even unseen. There is one flaw of the capitalist free market system that is glaringly obvious, and it is shoving itself into everybody's consciousness. That is, of course, that free market capitalism is driving global warming, and that will result in the death of the planet. And the business community will lose out, because the free market needs a livable planet. So, how is the business community dealing with impending planetary heat death and its future loss of global trading share? Why, it's recycling its trash and putting a few solar panels on its roof while selling you tons of stuff. Isn't that a feel-good solution to a systemically and ideologically market-created problem? Just like our individual acceptance that we Australians are doing a great job. At least that's what parts of the national media and the politicians tell us. But is being number one in the world for per capita, that is per person, greenhouse gas emission, does that amount to doing a great job? And how does the government and industry logically dismiss that fact? Well, they like to use illogical and immoral arguments. Front and centre argument number one, other big countries emit larger amounts than we do. You know, to paraphrase, we emit a little, others emit a lot. Okay, this is the logic of we only kill one dog. Bigger countries kill 100 dogs. Just perhaps the moral view that no dogs must be killed should be taken. The second great logical argument that dismisses our contributions to the global warming problem relates to the fact that we are a huge exporter of gas and minerals, which are converted into greenhouse gases by other countries. So, repeating, we export huge volumes of gas and coal, which is turned into greenhouse gas emissions. And the dismissive logic that defends this is, if we don't kill 100 dogs, then somebody else will. And you must bear in mind, we are all susceptible to the proclamations of corporate ideology. Within our society, children from the earliest stages of awareness have rammed into their consciousness the ideals of competition with a life philosophy that preaches human existence as the financial, emotional, or physical conquest of another, individualism, and consumption. And let's face it, in this ocean of marketing images, sounds and words, Children absorb a sense of and complete belief in these being the three essential and sacred pillars of both development and progress within society. There have been calls for children to have basic business teachings added to their primary school curriculum. But from the very cradle, our children are existentially placed on the eternal conveyor belt of endless need and are solely driven to feed the need machine through acquiring stuff. The desire is fueled, fed, reinforced and portrayed through all forms of social and cultural expression. That is by a great ocean of words, sounds and images spewed forth by marketing and advertising, which proclaims desire as the most normal and natural urge in one's existence. But could I describe the addiction of free market consumption linked to that eternal desire to consume, which is, as I've pointed out, acquired from birth? Well, maybe I could. Maybe if I tell you about happy beads. Yeah, happy beads. Every man, woman and child in the Western world collects happy beads. You collect happy beads. They may actually be the reason and justification for your existence. But what are happy beads? How do you discover happy beads? Well, most folk ask, what will make me happy? It's things and stuff that make people happy. Well-being sites will gush such notions as happy being moments that are worked for and taken. For example, you fixate on a new lounge you've seen in a catalogue or showroom. You drag your arse to work every day, the same stultifying routine, counting off the days to when you can buy that lounge. There is an incremental build in excitement as the day approaches when you will buy the lounge. The thought of buying it, the obsession and fixation on it, makes the days pass more easily. The obsession becomes a strange anesthetic that makes those meaningless and monotonous days floating in suburbia banalia more palatable, more exciting, more bearable. Then the day comes and you purchase the lounge. You are epiphanically and cathartically happy. You have achieved it. It is yet another happy bead you have acquired, which you can place on the happy bead necklace of your life. You display it proudly to everybody. But the item actually only makes you excited and creates drama up until the time it is purchased and set down in your home. The happiness does not last very long after the acquisition. The happy bead loses its potency very quickly. It gives you a rapidly diminishing bit of pleasure for a while. After that, it becomes just something you sit on. Back to work next week, to the same tedious existence. You need another happy bead. So you focus on the next thing that will help make the tedium of work bearable. You fixate on the next item that will make you happy. So your weeks and years pass and you collect happy beads. Each one you place on your happy bead necklace. Each represents a happy moment in the line of days that make up your life. A conundrum surrounds your happy bead necklace in that you have acquired all this stuff, but it still feels as if something is missing. You should be permanently happy, really happy. You've got all these happy beads on your necklace. Why aren't you happy? I've got all this stuff and I'm still not happy. Is it because the simple act of eating ice cream can make you happy? Unlikely to raise your IQ, but anyway. Your football team can make you happy. Buying stuff or going to a restaurant or show can make you happy. But the happy beads won't make you feel fulfilled. They don't and can't make you feel as if your life has a meaning or a purpose or a point, other than just acquiring lots and lots of stuff that makes you momentarily happy. Buying stuff doesn't appear to be something that makes you feel whole, something that makes you feel as if your life is meaningful and has a point, something that makes you feel fulfilled. For there is a difference between doing something that makes you feel happy and something that makes you feel fulfilled. One endeavour that has shown positive results in this matter: creativity. The creative process can make you feel fulfilled. Developing, creating, or helping gives a sense of direction, purpose, and meaning. But in reality, you give up all that time, those minutes, hours that make up your life to others for payment, and with that money you buy things as compensation for all those meaningless hours that belong to another person or entity who you work for. So the point of your existence is to buy compensation in the form of consumer products. Or you could be a glorious optimist and view what you buy as a trophy. I did this boring stuff for years and bought all these happy bead items, which are trophies for all the mindless drudgery that took up the majority of my life. I have given up so much of my time to achieve this glorious trophy, this fridge. Your unconscious addictive desire to consume makes you but one tiny indoctrinated pawn in the planetary management concept preached by corporate ideology. An ideology whose universal core driving economic law is that all social progress and growth is achieved only through eternally increasing levels of market-indexed consumption, an upward curve of endless and relentless levels of increasing consumption, symbolising the upward curve of society's greater wealth and well-being, according to the religion of corporate theology. As I have repeatedly stated, it is ceaselessly proclaimed through all forms of media that commodities will bring you happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment, not only in terms of your life, but also your existence. To facilitate and enhance this whole process of consume or die, or perhaps that's consume and weep, the market will bring out perpetually updated new products and models of the stuff to be consumed, so the market can continue eternally to grow. New model phones, mowers, fishing rods. Name something that isn't to be constantly updated with a new product or model being released in the near future. Updating. Updating stuff till the planet is little more than a smouldering, lifeless husk. For infinite consumption is impossible in a finite system. That is a simple, inviolate fact. You cannot have infinite consumption in a finite system. The planet is a finite system, and for the free market to function, it will continue to demand infinite consumption of that planetary system. What is the manifestation of this terminal planetary wasting disorder? Well, as I think I have made it very, very, very clear up to this point, you only have to walk into any shopping mall, department store, home projects and renovations big box franchise, glance through the ceaselessly produced array of product catalogues, or drown in television or internet advertising for products. You know, in the first world, the Western world, we have examples of massive cities that produce virtually nothing other than vast amounts of dross, shit, and refuse that flow out of them, as the city's only true purpose is to exist for consumption and consumption alone. This all begs the question of who could possibly address this terminal issue. Corporate leaders, business institutions, politicians. Why, they loudly, staunchly, and vehemently defend the corporate belief system, the religious theology that holds all things free market sacred, which, of course, is a deliberate ideological failure to address the fatal disease devouring the planet, the life-threatening cancer consuming the planet, the obvious monster in the room, which is that which the business spokespeople defend. The free market and its corporate ideology of social progress being nothing more than infinite market growth and infinite consumption. As I have alluded to, corporate ideology is the source of an endless array of social and environmental disorders. Due to the reverence and veneration that pours forth from the corporate media in its glorification of market growth, we have the situation where rather than attacking that source, which is a belief system spread like a virus, instead we will turn to science to come up with techno-fix miracles to deal with the disorders that corporate ideology relentlessly spawns. If science can't come up with a means of excising the core beliefs of free market capitalism, there will be no future on this planet.
Once a week, I hold a barbecue and travel to each other's homes to dine on repetition and bigotry as they whine about their housing laws. They lie on beaches, not a care in the world, nor a thought in their empty heads. Like lizards, just out of swim, scratching and yawn till it's time to be fair. Lazing round in oblivion with the channel changing never far. Watching all the blondes with perfect teeth sing the praises of some sporting star. Running, jumping, throwing sticks like watching monkeys at play. Hooked into the screen like some trivia freak helps you while away each pointless day. They travel from the suburbs to work each day, wondering what to buy next. Floating on a tide of mediocrity, but saying they're not like the rest. Lame days pass into eternity, but their lives are second to none. The future means not, as they won't be around to face the damage that their apathy's done. Lazing round in oblivion with the channel changing never far. Watching all the blondes with the perfect teeth sing the praises of some sporting star. Rolling, jumping, throwing sticks, it's like watching monkeys at play. Hooked into the tube like some trivia freak helps while away each pointless day. With values that are cheap cliches. They gain an image of themselves from TV soaps and parrot what the newspapers say. Routine's the blood that flows in their veins. I want more as their eternal song. Comfortable but empty, carefree but dull, is evolution gone tragically wrong. Lazing round in oblivion with the channel changing never fall. Watching all the blondes with the perfect teeth sing the praises of some sporting star. Running, jumping,